Welcome to Six Tackles with Gus. Now with Matt Thompson, our usual host, away in Paris, covering the Olympics. I'm Danika Mason, filling in for the next 3 weeks. Gus, it's an absolute honour to be welcomed onto your podcast.
Danika Mason, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you going?
Good, thank you. I'm a little bit worried about this.
Well,
Matt and James Bracey were easy. You're more of an investigative journalist type.
I'm very inquisitive.
I know. You ask tough questions.
Well, we have plenty to discuss on the show today. We're going to be recapping Game 3 of State of Origin. The big guns return as the race to the finals heats up. Jason Riles making some moves at Parramatta. And there's plenty of Ask Gus questions as well. And a big preview of this week's NRL and NRLW matches too. So plenty to discuss. I'm looking forward to it, especially the State of Origin recap.
There's always something happening, isn't there?
Always.
And I think the State of Origin, I mean, when you get a game like that, as we got last week, and the sort of superlatives are thrown around about the game, it says a lot about the game. It says a lot about our club football, and there's a lot to discuss out of that particular game, not the least of which is a great win by New South Wales.
Yeah, everyone's still talking about it, so that's a good sign, and builds the excitement as well for next year's series. All right, round 20, team of the week. Let's have a look at some of the results. Storm, they beat the Roosters. The Raiders had a narrow victory over the Warriors. The Rabbitohs defeated the Tigers. The Panthers, they got the job done. That was a good game over the Dolphins. And then the Seagulls defeated the Titans as well. Team of the week, who impressed you?
I thought there were some really good performances on the weekend, but the top of the table clash produced a performance by the Storm that I think you could probably rate their season best. And there's a lot of talk now about the Roosters and their record against the top 8 sides, and particularly the two big guns in Storm and Panthers. But Storm's performance the other night had to make you sit up and take notice, particularly without Munster. I mean, he's coming back this week, but they were just too energetic, too fast, too disciplined for the Roosters team, who we've all been saying were warming up to a premiership assault, and they may well still be. But they kind of got put in their place a little bit down there in Melbourne the other night. So if you're looking at the best performance of a club on the weekend in a top-of-the-table clash at a high-stakes game, Storm were highly impressive and run to a big lead in the minor premiership races they are. There were some other good performances. Panthers without their rep stars, Nathan Cleary coming back, had to overcome a very good Dolphins team who showed yet again they can score points against the best of them, and they did, and looked at the winners when they ran out to 26-12. But the Panthers, as they do, they fought back, and then Cleary comes up with the big moment in Golden Point. And I thought the Sea Eagles sounded a bit of a warning as well with their performance against the Titans. And I know it's the Titans and they're not. The Titans are actually in good form at the moment, dominated the first 20 minutes and led 8-0. And then just the speed and skill of the Sea Eagles was very, very impressive. I saw them 2 weeks in a row at Brookvale. We went out there. They belted Newcastle and they belted the Titans. I now want to see them play one of the top sides and see how they go from there, because they're on the doorstep of the top 4 now. And if they can get into the top 4 with the speed of their side and the creativity and the experience, they can be a contender. I don't think you can go past the Storm, though, as the most impressive victory on the weekend.
Well, the Roosters and the Seagulls, they face each other this week. That'll be a good test.
Really looking forward to that one. I think that's a big test.
Yeah. What about your round 20 player of the week? Who stood up for you?
Round 20 player of the week. That's a difficult one. Round 20 player of the week.
Do you look at Nathan Cleary, his return?
Well, he didn't actually play that great. Like, he was obviously rusty. He'd been out for some time, and they'd held him up a little bit longer than they needed to. I was surprised they played him without the other Origin players. I thought when they come back, they'll come back at full strength altogether, but they didn't. And they threw him in there, and he came up with the big moment. I mean, the Golden Point, 45-metre field goal. I mean, we just start to take that as run-of-the-mill for Nathan Cleary now. And he's certainly great under the pressure of getting results at the back end. That was the magic moment of the round. Performances, I thought Tom Trbojevic was outstanding for the Sea Eagles on Sunday. And again, they sounded a real warning for me. That's such a good football team, the Sea Eagles. They're tough and they're fast and they're skillful. And as I say, I'm really looking forward to their performance against the Roosters. And it's a bit of a watershed for the Roosters this weekend too, because now people are starting to say, well, maybe they can't beat the top sides. They can just beat up on the other sides. I don't believe that. I think they can. But they've got to rethink their approach to the game.
What a luxury for Penrith, though. being able to rest all of those stars and still get the win.
Yeah, well, it's been happening for a few years now, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of rep football. I wherever I've ever been throughout my history, I've always wanted our players to be involved in rep football. I always want them in the Origin side. Some clubs see it as an inconvenience, and if you're a lowly side and you've only got the one Origin player, him not playing can make a big difference to your results. I understand that, but you want as many players as you can involved in that representative arena, because I've always held the belief you need 5 or 6 Origin side players in your side to win a premiership. And if you go back through history, that's pretty much the case with the majority of teams that win competition. They've got that 5, 6, 7 representative or international class players because they've come through playing the best against the best. That Origin camp, that Origin level of football just makes people better, and that comes back and rubs off on everybody else. Now, Panthers with the development system over the years have become very adept at dealing through the Origin period. It hurt them in the early days, but now the production line brings kids in who can come in and fill in during that period and still get wins, and that was a mighty win for them on the weekend without those Origin players. And they've learned to do it very, very well, and it helps the whole growth of the club. It helps the development of their players. So not only do your Origin players go off and get experience at the very highest level, but you're bringing kids in during that period to play with a top-class side, and they end up helping their development towards NRL as well. And they showed that again on the weekend. Penrith still a team to beat when they get it right and have all those Origin players back in the team. It's going to be a very exciting finals race this year.
But then you get other teams, Broncos, for example, they had a number of players out on State of Origin duties and they weren't able to get a win during that time.
Yeah, they had a good win on the weekend, and that culminated with Adam Reynolds coming back. Now, I know they lost 6 in a row, and they're probably denying they were in a slump. They were. It just got worse and worse. But I kept saying, as soon as the halfback comes back, things will change. And it's amazing what one player can do to a team. It was the same kind of when Mitchell Moses was out for that length of time at Parramatta. As soon as he came back, they had a win. Adam Reynolds is so important to the Broncos. And when he's there, he makes such a difference to every other player in the team. He gives them the direction, he gives them, the discipline, he gives them the kicking game and the control, he gives them a calmness, he gives them a confidence, but he fires the arrows in the right direction. Like, he just doesn't do it scattergun approach, which is what happens when he's not there. He's very meticulous about the way they play their football, and he can release Reece Walsh or Katoni Staggs and these sort of players at the right time. They've got 2 really good edge back rowers that he's able to work with. So Adam Reynolds, back from injury, makes the Broncos a completely different proposition to what they were. And I've always listened to Kevin Walters talking when they're going through the slump. There's always been a calmness about him that, he's looking at the draw and he knows Reynolds is coming back for the last 6 or 7 weeks, and he's thinking, we'll be okay. They were grand finalists last year. They've got immense talent. They've got a lot of really good, classy players. Payne Haas back in the side, and Paddy Carrigan back into the side after Origin. And Adam Reynolds, he's the key. If they're not the same side, if he's not there, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. All right. Guess what time it is for?
What's that?
It's time for yes or no.
How do you know? Yes! No.
That's the rule.
No. Dear.
All right, I've been looking forward to get your opinion on this one. Hamoli Olakawatu and Cameron Murray's suspension from last Wednesday's Origin were fair.
No. No, look, this is such a controversial topic, and it probably goes into the whole nature of that Origin game. Let's talk about the game a little bit itself there. Origin football is what sells our game. It's the pinnacle of our game. It's where the casual observer watches our game, more than ever before. We've got our rusted-on fans who love rugby league for whatever reason. They've grown up with it and they do, but it's the one where everyone else in the nation watches our code as well at the time. Our administration and our leaders are going to get very worried about appearances and about perceptions of the game, where the purist rugby league fan loved that game because of its brutality. They loved that game, like even the melee. That's what they love about our game, but it's seen by others as a poor reflection on what have you, or it's a bad example to kids or what have you. I could talk for hours on this subject. It was kind of on the night I was disappointed there was a sin bin from it. I've never seen a player from the bench sin binned before. I don't even know how that meant they had to have 12 men on the field. I mean, I haven't caught up with how they've discussed that or what have you, but it just seemed like an overreaction, and I think it's all an overreaction. Obviously, we want to discourage it. If you want to fine a couple of players that got involved because they shouldn't have got involved, but from what I saw of it, no one got hurt. I don't think the image of the game has been tarnished as much as people would think. And the Origin contest itself, the way it was refereed and the way it was played and the brutality of it and the closeness of the scores and the low scoring is pretty much against everything that a lot of our administrators have thought they needed to get out of the game for a long period of time. Our club football has been directed anything away from what we saw last Wednesday night. But last Wednesday night gets the plaudits of not only people who follow our game, but I heard people from other codes saying congratulations to Rugby League. They've kept their sport, the integrity of their sport, or what their sport stands for. And I heard a person from the AFL saying, "Gee whiz, if our AFL players hit each other like that, they get 12 weeks." Well, good on the NRL for doing that. And I just think it's disappointing to me as an old stage, and I know I'm a dinosaur and all that a lot of the sanitisation of our game, has come at a cost, and we kind of worry too much about the people who don't watch our game as against those who love our game and have grown up with our game. Obviously player protection and, we don't want mummy to stop little Johnny from playing football and all these sort of cliches they come up with. But at the end of the day, if you didn't love that Origin contest, if you didn't love everything about that, 2 hours of entertainment we got up there and watch those fellas play with the passion and the physicality that they did, then you shouldn't be watching rugby league at all. And it sold our game. And you compare that to the first two games where you had blowout score lines and plenty of points and plenty of tries. I would take game 3 over that any day of the week, any time. And I thought it was a great advertisement for our game. And it's the type of thing that we as footballers or old footballers or former footballers or football fans love. I haven't heard one person criticise or say, why did they get away with that in Origin or what have you.
It was wild to watch. It unfolded right beside us on
Were you
the
close
sidelines,
to it?
within a metre of it.
Did you weren't going to jump in?
No, I was. I had
We
so
needed
much
a hand.
adrenaline.
We're outnumbered.
Well, this is the thing. The fact that they got, especially for Cam Murray, I feel like Cam Murray and Hamoli got the same punishment, but they were two very different situations.
Yeah.
Hamoli wasn't playing. Cam Murray was.
Yeah.
And Cam Murray was definitely going in to break it up.
Yeah.
The fact that they got the same punishments.
Yeah.
What was your thought on that?
Well, put yourself in their shoes for a start. People say, well, they shouldn't have done it. Well, probably they shouldn't have done it, and that's not what you want to happen. But when it rolls over into the sideline and Cam Murray's sitting there and he's part of the passion of the game and everything that's happening there, it's also right alongside the Queensland bench.
It was pretty much on the Queensland bench.
And that's what happens when you get in that melee situation. And if someone drags you from behind, I've seen players, someone's trying to stop a fight, they'll pull their own teammate back by the collar and they want to turn around and hit them because they don't know who it is. Once you're in that and you're kind of blindsided, you really don't know what they're thinking or what they're going to do. So it's kind of like we used to have this saying, retaliate first. Don't wait to get hit before you hit someone. And it's so in their thinking was there was more maroon jerseys there than blue ones to start. It had rolled over onto the sideline and it was right near the Queensland bench. What happens if they jump in? So they kind of went down. They were all going down to break it up. Everyone runs in to break it up. But as they're running towards it, if he's in maroon and you're in blue, you're thinking, what's he running in to do? Is he running in to break it up or is he running in to hit my teammate? And he's probably thinking, am I running in to break it up or am I running in to hit his teammate? So it was kind of like, well, for everyone they send in, we'll send someone too.
Well, that's the thing, because a lot of the Queenslanders were, because it was on the bench, a lot of them were just automatically involved. They came from their bench.
But in the end, not a punch was thrown and no one got hurt.
James Bracey did spill his coffee.
Well, poor old James. Poor old James. I don't think James would have got into the fight, I've got to say, Danika.
No
I love James. I think he'd have been getting out of the way.
He was backtracking.
He'd have spilled his coffee getting out of the way. I don't think he wanted to get involved. Yeah, so it's kind of like, it happens, it shouldn't happen. All right, yeah, but what was the harm, honestly? So I think if you could have fined them as a warning and said, like at a group caution and et cetera, And I honestly believe this, and I don't know if he'd ever admit it, all right? I honestly believe that the referee thought Cameron Murray was still on the field and that they pulled him off after the melee to get him out of the referee's sight. Because that often happens. Sometimes a player will do something in back play and then they'll stop the game and they've already replaced him.
Yeah.
And then you've got to bring him back off the bench, caution him and do whatever you've got to do. I honestly think that Ashley Klein thought Cameron Murray was still in the game and that someone had replaced him after the melee. And that's why he called him back out. Did he penalise him? I don't think he penalised him. He penalised something else. But sin bin, so you've got to send off the bloke. Now, what he said to Asio, well, you got to send someone off. So Asio's got to turn around and say, well, who?
Poor old Mitch Barnett.
Poor old Mitch. Sorry, Mitch, you got to go. What's that say to poor old Mitch? Mitch had been the one that had replaced him. And Cameron Smith brought up an interesting point in commentary. He said, well, if I'm the opposition captain, I want to pick who goes off.
Yeah, that's actually true. Imagine that.
But I've never seen that before. I don't even know if it's in the rules.
I think David Middleton actually double checked it with the NRL about the rules, and it wasn't very precise. It wasn't very detailed in what the rules were.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. I had an experience of this many years ago with a Penrith team that I was coaching. I think we were playing. My memory's not as good as it used to be. We were playing Western Suburbs in the last game of the season before the finals, and West were well down the ladder, and Penrith, we were going to the finals, and there was a lot of animosity between the two teams because there was a lot of ex-Penrith players playing for Western Suburbs, and there was always a bit of rivalry there. And we had a couple of hot-headed players, a fellow called Mark Geyer and a fellow called John Cartwright, who they didn't like the players on the other side. And I went to pains all week about saying, listen, don't be intimidated, don't be goaded into doing something stupid. We're going to the finals, they're not. We can't afford any fights or suspensions, So, and I was big on discipline and no, promise coach, we won't. So anyway, the game goes on and there's a lot of niggle and there's a lot of back chat and there's a lot of sledging and everything like that. And I'm sitting on the sideline on the bench and it's getting towards the end of the game and I think we're winning comfortably. And I think I've got John I can't remember which one was off, John or Mark. John Cartwright's off. I think I've got Fittler off, and I think I'm resting players. And right in front of us on the bench, something happens, and it sets Mark Geyer off. And next thing, there's a melee on the field, which now bundles over onto the sideline. And as it bundles over to the sideline, John Cartwright stands up because he's going in to protect his mate. And I've yelled out, "John, no!" And he's turned around, and he's looked at me, and he went, "Sorry." And then he went. So down to judiciary went on the Tuesday night and we got him off. But it was. He sort of looked at me and said, "Sorry, he's me mate." Off he went. And that's what it is. It's you're not going to let your player get outnumbered in that situation, and you may well go there with good intention to break it up. But it's kind of like once those sort of things start, and you see it start on the field now, like all 26 players come in now. And what do? They come in, no one throws a punch, they grab your jersey, they push each other.
Someone's pulling someone
They pull an
back
angry face. Well, half of them have got angry face, the other half are laughing and pulling people away. And, "How you going? Good to see you. See you after the game." All that sort of, so it's kind of like a push-a-thon. And it's just a matter of in the heightened theatre of that, with the crowd right on top of them and the game at a very important point, and it starts with, Daly, Cherry Evans and Luai having a grapple that someone wants to go in and break up or whatever. And as soon as you see a maroon jersey run towards it, a blue jersey will react. And then that just multiplies a number of times. And it's why they try to keep running into these sort of things wrong, because you don't know what the other person is thinking. You might be going there with good intention, but you don't know what their intention is. And you might have good intent. They don't know what you're thinking. So it kind of like, if you even out the numbers and you throw enough people into it, nothing's going to happen. We'll all get out of it safe and sound, which is what happened. Now, Hamoli Olakawadu did a silly thing. He's in a suit. There was no reason for him to be running in.
I thought he was a security guard for a second.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, that's a stupid thing to do. But I feel sorry for Manly, who've got a player that's not even on the field. And I don't like suspensions from Origin affecting club football. I don't think it ever should.
So do you think it should just be heavier fines,
Heavier,
monetary
heavier
fines?
fine if you want to send a message. If you want to send a message to the public and the mum and all that sort of thing, which they do, and I think they overreact to a lot of that stuff. I'm not in favour of all that sort of thing, but I get it. But right at the moment, when we haven't got players running in and king hitting, we haven't got players coming in and blindsiding each other. The players, even in those heightened states, know that they can't be throwing punches, and it's rare that we see one, and we deal with it straight away when they do. Paul Gallen killed the punching rule, we know that, but no one threw a punch. No one did anything over the top, even in that heightened state. So I think the players actually did a good job, not a bad job, but also reacted to the emotion and the drama of the situation. And it's only human nature for these boys. Trust me, it mightn't be for everyone in the general public, and football's not for everyone, and running into fights is not for everyone either. You know, it's kind of natural for them to react like that, that they're not going to leave their teammate outnumbered. Now, Hamoli is different. He's in a suit and probably should know better. But Manly missing 2 games for that, I think, is rather harsh.
So you think he should have been fined more in terms of
I think
money?
fine sends the message.
What about for a situation?
And what happens now is that, well, many years ago, I got sent off as a coach sitting on the sideline. And for years, they banned coaches from sitting on the sideline just to protect them from that sort of situation. It may well be now that players that aren't involved in the game can't sit on those benches. They're going to have to find somewhere for them to sit in the grandstand. You don't want... So there's 2 big bench areas there, as you know, in Origin. And a lot of the officials sit on there, and mate of a mate might have got down there with a card that he shouldn't have, or whatever they do. They get people in on the sideline. And the reserves sit there as well. And they're in just as heightened state as everybody else. They're engaged in the result and the action. So easily they can come out and say, well, from now on, players that are not allowed on the field. They've got to sit in the... we've got to provide a suite for them, or we've got to provide a ticket for them to sit up there rather than sitting down on the bench. You know, only certain people, accredited people, reserves and staff can be on that sideline bench there. That eliminates the whole Hamoli thing, right? I don't think he should have been suspended. I think it's unfair on the Manly club. I think it's unfair on the South Sydney club that Cameron Murray is suspended. I mean, he only went there to break it up. That's what he went to do. What do you want him to do? And it's all right to say, oh, well, he should be thinking better. Well, that's not the game. That's not our footballers.
So do you also think that fines should be, say, for Joseph Swaley when you in game 1, for his 4-game suspension, do you think that should have been a monetary fine?
Absolutely. I thought there were mitigating circumstances for that one. There really were. There were mitigating circumstances to that. You know, the player slipped. I mean, I don't think Origin should result in club suspensions. I really don't. I don't think anything that happens in football anymore is a deliberate, reckless action, you know, where you're actually out to maim someone and do that. Anything that happens out there happens virtually because there are mitigating circumstances. A lot of it is accidental. And in the Sawali situation, he wasn't far off a perfect tackle in what he was trying to do. But they don't like you running at each other aggressively. That's, you know, one of the terms that they use. Well, that's rubbish. You know, that's our game. That's how our game should be. And like I said, a lot of what we saw in Origin, right, would not be tolerated in club football. But everyone loved the product. Everyone talked about it as being one of the greatest in history. Everyone loved the low scoring. It was 2-0 at half time. It was 4-2 with 20 minutes to go. You know, like if that was a club game, people would say it was boring.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was anything but boring. That's the football that we love, and that's what Origin should look like. Origin shouldn't look like what it did in games 1 and 2. Right? That's what Origin football should look like. And that's what we love about our game. But there is so much about that game that we have tried to sanitise our club football with. Now, I say that professional football should come with a warning, don't try this at home. It's up to parents and junior league coaches to teach kids what's right from wrong and what should or shouldn't. You know, but the professional sport is a different environment, and it's at high stakes and high cost, and I don't think we should always be held accountable to what influence that might have on junior footballers. That's up to junior league coaches and players, and such a small percentage of them are ever going to be in a hope with playing professional football. This is a different beast. They're a different type of athlete. They're a different type of person. They're different type of personality and character. And I think, we've sanitised our game a lot over the years. So when you get a game like that in Origin, you tell me, did you love it?
Loved it, every second of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It captured everyone. And I haven't heard one word of criticism about it. I haven't heard one word of criticism about the melee. Not one word. Not one word.
Everyone loved it.
Everyone loved it. So why can't you talk honestly about that? Now, the game can give everyone that theatre, make a statement by giving a person a fine, bring them all in and say, listen, mate, that was stupid. All right, now we're not going to let people in suits on the sidelines, so they probably shouldn't have been there anyway. Cameron Murray, what were you thinking? Oh, maybe, mate, we get it. Look, there's going to be a fine, but cop that sweep and we'll go from there. That's how I would manage the situation. But I think we worry a little bit too much about what we think or what our officials think public perception is, or what our officials think what damage it's going to do. We often hear, the referee's boss or the boss of the league talking about, oh, we've got to set an example for this and that. And sometimes I think, you know what? No, we don't. I think you're overreaching and overreacting.
It's a different situation, as you said. State of Origin. It's not everyone's going to be.
Trust me, Danika. Right? If I said that game's going on again next week and it's no holds barred, how many people do you think would get to the game and watch it?
I'd be sidelined. All right.
with a tackle suit on.
Not James Bracey is my security.
No, James is sit up in the.
All right. Next one. Clint Gutherson will remain captain of the Eels.
Well, personally, I can't say that with any assurity because I don't know. They've got a new coach, and I don't know what's happening at Parramatta. I've got no intel into what's happening within the four walls across there whatsoever. I see no reason to change him. I see no reason to move him from his position where he is at fullback. Just looking from what we see, we watch the football from the sideline. We're deaf to what's happening on the field. We don't see what happens at training or within their walls. Clint Gutherson comes across to me as not only an extremely talented footballer, but a great leader, a very, very passionate footballer, 100% effort man who scores tries, sets up tries, saves tries, pleads his case to the referee, inspires his teammates and everything like that. So if I was coaching Parramatta, if someone had given me the job to coach Parramatta tomorrow, Clint Gutherson, out of all of them over there, Clint Gutherson is the first one I'm sitting down to have a cup of coffee with and say, how are we going? Why are we running 17th in this competition? Where have the wheels fallen off? We were grand final team 2 years ago. Give me your take on things because it would be his opinion that counted to me. And then if, there's an old saying, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. What is the solution? And I don't think it's a major shift to get a solution to what's going on there. I mean, there's so much talent in that football team. And, the results can be. There are many, many factors that lead to the type of season that they've had. But when you actually boil it all down, the solution is sometimes a lot more simple than people think. For the long term, I think their solutions, they need greater solutions so that they don't find themselves in this position again. But Clint Gutherson, from where we sit and where we watch the game, I mean, how does he inspire you?
Yeah, he's an all effort. He is there every single minute of the game. And you can tell too, he's well respected. He's looked up to by a lot of his teammates as well. I think
absolutely. He looks like part of the solution to me.
Yeah.
Looks like a big part of the solution. Now, Clint has offered himself up reportedly, and it might be media scuttlebutt, I don't know. He has reportedly offered himself up to change positions if it means bringing in an X-factor player to play fullback who might be able to help them, but I don't think Parramatta's looking for an X-factor player. I think they've got some X-factor players, Maybe they're having trouble in securing the signature of Blaze Talangi, who's off contract and obviously attracting a lot of interest. He's a young fella on the rise. And he played fullback a couple of times and was impressive with his ball running. He doesn't look like a fullback to me.
In his juniors, though, I think he's only played fullback once coming through, and then he filled in for Parramatta.
He's more a centre, maybe a 5'8", and that's at junior levels is what we've seen him, and he's been very, very good, And what usually happens is young players making their debut into first grade outside, they might have to play on the wing. They might have to play a position they haven't played before. And then Parramatta went through some injuries, and they put him to fullback because Clint was out, and he made a good fist of it. Scored a couple of tries and did all that, which he can do. He can run the ball. He can make people miss. He's got a brilliant right foot step. He's actually quick. He's got great awareness. He can support people, and he'll run into holes. He's fearless about running the ball. Hell of a lot more to being an NRL fullback than that. You know, they're great qualities, but we can find a lot of kids that can do that. But I don't see Blaze Talangi. Now, maybe it's because they feel as though they've got to give Blaze Talangi close to fullback money to retain his services. Maybe there's other clubs out there that are desperate for outside backs that have made it very, very difficult now that he's off contract.
But it feels like that's a tough position for someone coming through only a number of games into their NRL career to put them into a position that they haven't played coming through their
100%.
footy career, and also in some pretty awkward circumstances, moving on a captain.
Yep.
It feels like you're sort of throwing him into the deep end.
Yep. Don't talk common sense, Danika, because that confuses a lot of rugby league people. You're 100% right. Yeah, and the development of the younger athlete. You know, our aim with the younger athlete is turn him into a long-term athlete, turn him into a long, you know. I remember in the account we had a saying, you know, 200, not 20. We're not looking for 20-game first graders. We're looking for 200-game first graders. We want to help them have a career that's over an extended period of time. And sometimes you can be very lucky or very unlucky into what team and what system you come into in first grade and how that first grade team's performing, the people that you're playing with, the senior talent that's going to influence the way you conduct yourself as a professional footballer, both on and off the field, the way you train. There are, you know, some players get a poor education early. I'm not talking about Parramatta here. I'm talking about just in general, you know. So you're right. Blaze Talangi has come on and showed a nifty pair of feet and a clean pair of heels, and he can run, he can step. We need to sign him, so let's throw more money at it, which is only going to put more pressure and more scrutiny on the kid. A lot of kids get overpaid too early. They get the big money too early. With big money comes what? More scrutiny, more expectation, less coaching. Because once they start earning that sort of money, they think they know it all. They don't. All right, they're the ones, you know. So, you know, I think managers of footballers, parents of footballers need to understand the money comes later once you've learned your trade, you know. But because there is a shortage of talent off contract, because we now have 17 teams, we're going to 18, maybe 20 teams, the demand for players is great, limited supply and demand, simple economics, prices go up, and all of a sudden you get a kid like this who's talented and off contract. 2 or 3 clubs come in and, well, you know, we do need him. Okay, well, 500 or 600. They just say numbers like throwing confetti. And all of a sudden it's going to cost the club an enormous amount of money to keep him. How do we justify that money? Well, we'll play him in a key position. We'll play him fullback. I'm not talking about Parramatta. This happens. I've seen this happen a number of places. And it's honestly, it's ruined a lot of young footballers. A lot of potentially... They come into the scene with a burst, they're young, they're teenagers, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a big long-term, big money contract. And a lot of cases, in 3 years' time, they're down and out and trying to make a comeback, and they're trying to sell them on to somewhere else, or, you know, and it's ruined players. It really has. Money and expectation puts a lot of pressure on players.
You've got to have good people around you and
absolutely you do.
Advising you. But if...
Obviously, and I'm not talking about Blaze Talangi, but I'm just saying we've got off track a little bit with that. But so the question is, should Clint Gutherson, will he be captain? Well, I can't see any reason why he wouldn't be, and I can't see any reason to move him from fullback. And I can't see any reason personally why Blaze Talangi would expect to be the next fullback of Parramatta. He could certainly be in the NRL side, and he's certainly a good young kid coming through. But
so would you play Blaze at centre?
I don't know who they got. I know
they've got Lomax coming.
Lomax is coming next year. What did they buy him as?
Well, if you've also got a new coach coming though, doesn't he get to have the final say as to who?
Well, you'd think so, yeah.
Plays where?
Yeah. See, Zach Lomax got moved to wing at St George, so he wanted out. He didn't want to be a winger, right? He wanted to be a centre or a fullback. When St George put him on that big contract years ago, it was because he was going to play fullback. They were toying with the idea of him being a fullback. To me, right from the first time I ever saw him play, he looked like a representative class centre to me, right, all the time. And I know we had good players and all that. And I always said to Brad Fittler, if you're looking for a player, right, and you're short on outside backs, Zach Lomax is an origin player. I can just see it, you know, and he's proven that even what I think is playing out of position, although he obviously adapts to playing wing very, very well. So I don't know why he went to... I doubt he would have signed to go to Parramatta to be a winger. I'm pretty sure he would have signed because he didn't want to play wing at St George.
And so he's gone.
So he's gone there either to be a centre or a fullback, which is what St George had intended for him early on in the piece. Now that coach is gone. I don't know what Jason Riles is going to think. You know, I know Bailey Simonson's off contract and he's coming off an ACL injury, but I think they'll probably retain someone like him. Make a Sevo, I'm not sure whether he'll be retained. So there's a lot of scuttle coming out of Parramatta, but how much you can believe, I don't know. And they're having trouble signing Blaze Talangi. And probably the lure of fullback and fullback money is what they think they need to do to keep him. But where's that put Clint Gutherson? At the back end of his career, what are we going to do with him? Play him 5'8", play him centre. Well, they've got a half and 5'8". And they've just bought Zach Lomax.
Plenty for the new coach.
And they've got Penasini. They've got some other really good players there. I don't know. I don't know.
Plenty for Jason Riles
Leadership?
to think about.
Leadership? He looks like the leader of that club to me.
All right, next one. Should we have golden try instead of golden point?
No.
I know Andrew Johns is he's a firm believer in the golden try, but do you think that means that we'd have more draws?
Absolutely. So why don't we just stop it after 80 minutes? Yeah, I'm in the early days when they brought golden point in, right? I was an advocate. I thought, yeah, good, because golden point periods saved some boring games. And draws can be boring some days, you know, but I've seen a lot of games, particularly recently, where no side deserved to lose. You know, where a draw would have been a fair result for both sides. One side fought hard for the draw, the other side, both sides fought hard. They had their chance in the 80-minute period. You know, I think sometimes a point each is a good result. You'd get a lot more of that if you played golden try, but it's another 10 minutes of football. It's another, drawing. I don't think you're going to get golden try all that too often. I think they'll defend it for the next 5 minutes and stop it. In that period, referees tend to put their whistle away. We don't see too many decided by penalty goals in golden point, yet there's plenty of opportunities to be giving penalties in that time. I've gone full circle on it. I was a supporter of it because I thought it saved boring games and it created excitement and great theatre. And it came from the NFL where they have, extra time and all that sort of thing. And I thought, yeah, let's give it a go. And it was good. And sometimes it saves a bad game. We had a grand final decided by golden point, which I thought was heartbreaking. I can't imagine being beaten by a golden point in the grand final. I mean, that would be devastating without the chance to reply. I'm a much more believer in, for the big games, extra time and find a winner and keep going until we get a winner. But, I'm over golden point. So
You're
I'm certainly over golden try.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think we need either.
So just extra time for how long?
Well, in club matches, no.
So no golden point in club matches?
No.
No extra time?
No.
Just a draw?
Just a draw.
Just a draw.
Take a point each, shake hands, see you next time.
Okay. And then what about in the big games?
In the big games, you have it starts off with the 10 minutes each way.
Yeah. And
you'll usually get a result in that time. And if you don't, you go to another 5 minutes each way. And if you don't, you go to another 5 minutes each way. But we've got to get a result. But, in golden point, you kick off and they take 5 tackles up and kick a field goal, you haven't had the ball. If they played the 5 minutes each way and you got a chance to come back and get your field goal and level it again, fair enough. I just don't like the fact that the field goal ends the game.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like the other team should have right of reply. And same with golden try. Well, they might have had the ball. We haven't had the ball yet. We haven't got a chance to reply. I think it's, I just, I don't even like tiebreakers in tennis. I don't like sudden death in golf. I just don't know that that's the way to decide it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm kind of like, in the big games where we need a result, extra time, then extra time, then extra time. But you should have to defend it until the siren goes.
And give both sides equal opportunity.
Give both sides equal opportunity.
All right, I like it.
Yeah.
I do like golden point, though, in your regular season games.
Because it's
makes
exciting.
It thrilling.
Yeah, it's thrilling. But, like Cleary's kicked the 2-pointer the other day. So that would probably get them home, saving a penalty goal or what have you, which means they've got to get a 2-pointer. And, and Dolphins might Penrith might score another try even and win by 8 points, but it should go the full 10 minutes. If that's what they're going to do, don't end it on one play. Don't end it on one field goal. Give the other side a chance to reply.
So give them equal opportunity.
To go for the 10 minutes. But don't end it on a scoring moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it should be sudden death. I think it should be an accumulation of the 10 minutes or the 5 minutes each way in whatever it is, and you should have to defend your lead until a siren goes. That's our game. That's how our game ends. It doesn't end with a scoring shot. It ends with a siren.
A siren. There you go. Okay.
That makes sense?
It does. Yep. Equal opportunity. There
you
go.
It makes sense every now and then. Only to me, though.
Last one. New South Wales win at Suncorp was their greatest ever.
I'll couch it in these terms, and I've said it religiously, like a decider at Lang Park is the greatest test that any New South Wales player or coach will ever face. We've only done it twice in history prior to the other night. In 2005, the Blues went up there and won Game 3, but that was the end of a 3-year run. They won in 2003, they won in 2004, and then in 2005, they went it to another level and won a decider. The same thing happened the previous time. When we won in 1994, we'd won it in 1992 and won the series in 1993, and we won it in 1994. And I said, it takes a champion team to, and they're the only two teams that have won Origin deciders in Queensland. But there was a culmination of a squad of players or an integral group of players that have been together for 3 years. That's what it took to find that sort of resilience to go to Queensland and do that. New South Wales was facing 3 Origin Series losses in a row. I mean, the pressure on them was enormous.
New coach,
new look team, new attitude, new trainer, the whole thing. So in that respect, not that 94 or 2005 would seem to be easier. It was just, if you wanted to compare the three of them, there was a similarity about 94 and 2005, and that series win was the third series win in a row. So that team had some dominance and some history over Queensland. This was a new coach and a new team that had been beaten 2 years in a row and were facing the loss of 3. So they've been beaten 2 years in a row. Then they get flogged in game 1 when they lose a player to the sin bin. So they've had to resurrect themselves by winning in Melbourne and then going to Brisbane and winning a decider. So in that respect, it's probably one of New South Wales' greatest ever moments. So I will say it was their greatest ever win. I'll justify it that way. There have been great wins by New South Wales over the years, but in such an important event, I think that's the one. That's the one we can do.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that Game 3 up at Suncorp Stadium. What a match it was. It was Michael Maguire's first
I thought we
win.
talked about it.
We did, but I want to know, we talked about the melee, the game in general.
Yeah.
How highly did you rate? We spoke about it earlier, how the fact that there was not a single try scored in that first half, yet it was one of the most enthralling 40 minutes of footy.
Yeah, well, it was an enthralling 80 minutes of football for me because there was a breaking point midway through the second half when it looked like Queensland were going to do the impossible. Everyone's talked about Queensland defence, but Queensland didn't score a try. So New South Wales obviously did well. And not all defence is just defending your own try line for long periods of time. It's where you do your defence and how you do your defence that gave Queensland really no chance. And during that 80 minutes, I never felt like Queensland were going to score a try. There was never a moment where I thought, well, they're a chance. New South Wales totally blotted them out of the situation. But Queensland, to their credit, did defend their line really well, did show a lot of resilience and kept the score close, got a couple of penalty goals and led 4-2. And it was gripping. It was absolutely so entertaining for me to watch how this unfolded. And in the end, it came down, the first try that broke the spirit was actually a pass that landed on the ground that was picked up by Jerome Luai, and in one moment of sheer brilliance found a tired forward on the edge of the ruck and skipped around him, and Bradman Best backs up and scores a try. And that sort of gets them to the front. And then Mitchell Moses comes down a couple of minutes later and finds a tired forward, steps inside and runs in under the post. So your two chief playmakers, not by passing the ball, not by kicking the ball, not by working together with some sort of trick shot, just with their own footwork and their own instinct, were able to beat a tired player and create a score. And that's, to me, the Battle of Origin. The game itself, the beauty of the game was the brutality. The beauty of the game was the spirit and the hardness with which the players, the competitive nature of the players, it was played at close quarters and it was played as a slow game. I think New South Wales play the balls averaged over 4 seconds. Go to any game in the NRL this year, no game averages over 4 seconds for a team in play the ball. So there was a slowing, spoiling nature to the Queensland defence, which we expect in Origin up in Breeze, but that's just the challenge of what Origin is. I actually like that. That's the battle of Origin. We don't want to make the play the balls artificially quick to get high scores. Is what people think is entertaining football, or they want the crowd want. The crowd don't want that. All right? When they see something like this, they know what football looks like, and they know what big time football looks like. So there wasn't a great deal of football played by both sides. And you might only say, well, it's only an extra half a second in the play of the ball. That extra half a second is getting set on your line to come forward rather than getting back to your line as the ball is played. That half a second is an extra breath you can take. There's 500 play the balls in the game. That's an extra set, that extra breath you can take all those times before you can come forward. And defences were coming forward all night. There was very few times where either side was playing against a retreating defence. You're playing it against defence that's coming at you all the time. And the physicality of it, man, is from after about 10 minutes in that game, every player on that field is in survival mode. They're not in attack mode. They're in survival mode. Physically, mentally, spiritually, they're surviving in the tenacity and the brutality of the thing. Queensland gave New South Wales more than enough chances to get frustrated and give up, which they have done time and time again in that environment, in front of that crowd, on that stage. For years and years, they have broken New South Wales' spirit by being in their face and hitting so hard and with that brutal mentality and the fact that they will cheat at marker, they will cheat the 10 minutes, they will hold down and play the ball. I don't see that as cheating. I see that as Origin football. That's what it is. And to the most part, the referee kept out of it, which was good. He allowed the players to decide, but it's a different brand of football for them. And you really have to earn your points. You really have to earn your line break if it comes. You really have to. Early in the game, Bradman Best made a line break, but someone got back and knocked the ball out of his arms. Dylan Edwards looked like he made a break on the right. Other than that, I can't remember too many other times where New South Wales looked like scoring either. But Queensland were just brilliant with their desperation. So it wasn't a great game of football. There wasn't a lot of attacking football played. There wasn't a lot of flowing moments and line breaks and all that. It was more a war of attrition in the middle of the field, and someone somewhere was going to come up with an individual play to break the cycle of what was going on. Work it up, kick and chase. 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 Keep going. Break their mentality. Break their spirit. We'll be the first. They'll be the first to crack. Neither side cracked. And it took a ball to roll along the ground to land in the hands of probably the most sprightly player on the field, Jerome Luai, who was able to skip, dance, and go bang, and that broke the game. And so to me, the whole theatre of it was amazing, but the sheer rawness of the game and the toughness of the game is how I expect the football should be played. It wasn't a brilliant spectacle from a rugby league perspective of football, but everyone was enthralled in the battle.
So everyone always starts to look towards next year. As soon as an Origin series is over.
I said to Billy Slater the other day when we were sitting on the panel, where was he with us? At Brookvale?
At Brookvale.
At Brookvale. And I said, do you think the players could do that 3 times in a row? Do you think we could have 3 games like that? And he said, it'd be hard. Because they don't do that in club football. We don't have weeks like that. So sometimes we'll get similar to that, but certainly nothing like what we saw in Origin. The game's not refereed the same way either, and not everyone can go at that pace. But those Origin players, and that's what I remember of Origins back in the day. We've kind of sanitised our game, and we've kind of tried to artificially create speed and space in the game to see athletes and see ball movement and see tries. There is an element of thinking that that's entertainment and that's what fans want to see. I made this point before, where there is another side to our game. There is another way to play our game, and it's a bit like boxing. You've got the slugger and you've got the stylist. And I mean, same rules, but you get different styles of plays, and different styles of players. That game was enthralling for me, and I loved it, and I loved the way New South Wales won it, because Queensland gave them every chance to crack. But New South Wales were ready for it. They were ready for the way the game was going to be refereed. They were ready for the way Queensland were going to play. They were ready for the brutality. They were ready for sticking up for each other. They were ready for the crowd, which was 90-10. You saw how many blue jerseys did you see at Suncorp?
Do you know what? There actually were more than I expected, but nothing in comparison to Queensland.
No, I think they reject them at the gate. I think you've got to walk in with an orange jersey and take it off with a blue one underneath.
Like those scarves where you can just flip them.
You flip them over on the other side, yeah. But it's, and that's, so what New South Wales did was steel them for everything that was coming their way, where in the past I don't think we have. We've gone up there and had some terrible losses in that environment. We've had some narrow losses too, but the beauty of the New South Wales win for me, and where the coach has done well and the players have done well, is that they got ready for what happened. They were ready for what happened. And it probably leads to the melee and their involvement in the melee and blokes in the suits jumping out too, because we're all in here.
Well, I loved it how they went to the Caxton for dinner in the lead up.
Yeah.
Just putting them right
Confronted
in amongst
everything.
it. Exactly.
There's a saying that we use, run towards the danger, run towards your fear, run towards a challenge. So you've got to run towards those challenges. And New South Wales ran towards Lang Park. They ran towards Suncorp. They wanted to take it on in its entirety. They wanted Queensland to be their absolute best and give them everything they got. Throw everything you can at us. Throw the Caxton. We want to go throw us past the pub on the bus. Throw this, throw that at us. Whatever you want to do it, because that's what we're waiting for. And I think in that way, that's why it's probably one of our greatest ever wins. From a team that was under pressure, having lost 2 series in a row and had made changes and changed the coach and all that sort of thing. So it's a superb win. It's a brilliant win, and it breathes life back into the Origin again. And people would love for it to be on again next week. Absolutely love to be on it again next week. And I think that's, So as a football perspective, it was a different type of football. But I thought New South Wales were outstanding in that Queensland gave them every chance to beat themselves. And in past, New South Wales have done that a lot. New South Wales have beaten themselves because they haven't stood up to that Queensland solidarity or that Queensland being in their face the whole time and giving them no room to move and suffocating them. And in the end, so when it got on towards half time, look at everything Queensland went through in the first half, and then Cherry Evans chip kicks and Spencer Leonard takes him out and they lead by 2-0. I'm going, that's Origin. That's what we've expected from Queensland time and time and time again. And if Queensland had to come out and turn that 2 into 8, I doubt New South Wales win. Which is why I think Lomax took that kick from the sideline to level it up. I think the 2 points was in New South Wales' heads. It's only 2 points. There were no tries scored, but it was kind of like...
could have easily been the difference.
We're behind, and is there going to be a try in this game? We don't feel like we're going to score a try. They'd had a little bit of ball on their line. Suddenly Lomax is taken out. They're penalised about the 4th one. He'd been taken out most of the game. And I thought, that's it's not a low percentage kick for a good kicker, but it's still a risk to kick from that sideline. Think about the mentality if Lomax misses that kick. Think what that does for the Queensland confidence. These blokes are taking a kick from the sideline to make it 2-2, and they've missed it. Imagine what that would have done. That would have been a big psychological moment. So it was such a pressure kick. It was such a big decision.
And you know what? Lomax didn't even look one bit worried. He was.
That's why he's an Origin player.
He was confident.
It's one of the things I look at is a competitive nature and this ability to run towards the game, to keep going to the game no matter what. Now, Lomax as a kid I remember one of the first times I saw Zach Lomax was kicking a goal from that spot in a junior New South Wales game. Might have been under 17s or under 18s or something or other. He did the same thing from that exact spot. It was a conversion of a try. And geez, a good goal kicker, this kid. He used to kick him high and straight, and I've watched him ever since. But the decision to kick that goal. So they've gone into halftime tour. They've thrown absolutely everything at Queensland, right? Queensland haven't looked like scoring. We're behind 2-0, and it's only 2 points. But gee whiz, what else have we got to do to score? You can honestly feel whether or not there's doubts there, or is this ever going to happen? Or gee whiz, they're in front now. The crowd's up, So we attack their line a few times and we don't score a try. Now we get a penalty out on the sideline. 99 times out of 100 in club football, they kick it out and take a tap and try and score a try, don't they? If it's in front of the post and it's easy kick, 2-2, all right, we start again. To kick it from over there, not only is that a brave decision, I wonder what happens if he misses that goal, what that does for Queensland.
But you know what? There was looking at him. We play a little game on the sideline every time there's a goal.
You play a lot of games on the sideline, don't you?
We call it.
You've got to remember your microphone's always open. we can hear everything that's going on down there.
So we play in and
including
out.
pass the lollies, pass the chips.
we do it a lot on that sideline. We call it in or out, and we have a little tally going, Freddie and I, to see who wins at the end of the year. Some games we forget about it, but we looked at Lomax as soon as he said, "Yep, I'll take it." We both looked at each other, and I said, "Definitely in," and Freddie said the exact same thing.
So it was a big moment, and he kicked the goal. Which was people. You can't underestimate the mental strength to do that. So the decision to kick the goal proved to me that the 2 points was in their head. Being behind was in their head. And there was a frustration that they couldn't get across the line. They had a lot of ball in the first half on their line. Looked like scoring a few times. Crichton bubbled the ball a little bit out. There was another one there where they could have got in. It wasn't happening, and Queensland lead 2-0. And they come out in the second half. We had a couple of sets on their line and didn't score. Now we're going to take a lower percentage penalty from the sideline. And the effect is, what if I miss? What if he misses that 2 points? What does that do for Queensland's confidence? And what does it do for New South Wales? Now, he's kicked the goal. So New South Wales run back, breathing easier. All right, we're on the ball. We're back to level. All right, now we're back in it. Queensland get another penalty from in front for a slap on the cheek or something. Or other one. It was nothing much of a penalty. And I thought, my thought at the time, was with that little slap on the face penalty. I said, what if that decides the game? What if our game has been sanitised to the point where that is going to decide an Origin game 4-2? Can you imagine? That's what I'm thinking at the time. That is such a nothing. Do that to yourself, Danika. Just slap yourself on the cheek. It's a nothing. But that's going to decide the Origin game. This is where my head is. All right. This is what I'm thinking. I said,
You're such a pessimist.
What a rubbish penalty that was. Like in an Origin. After all the years of Origin, that's going to decide a decider. All of a sudden they're back in 4-2. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, now I'm looking at the clock and saying, okay, well, they've held us out for 55 minutes. Like, it's only 25 to go. Will we get frustrated? Will we start to make mistakes trying to chase that? If the 2 points was in our head to start with, is it going to get more into our head as the clock ticks down? So, Queensland got to the front by 2 again. And when you think about the first try, it wasn't any brilliant sort of set-up play. It wasn't strategy. It wasn't ever. Forward pops the ball out the back. It rolls along the ground. It just happened to land in front of Jerome Luai, who looked up and saw a tired forward in front of him, was able to skip to his outside and score the game. So they didn't practice that during the week. That wasn't how they thought they were going to get their points. That's just one player in one moment takes his opportunity and gets it done. But how did we get onto this? I don't know. But I thought that was one of the great moments. The decision to take that penalty, Lomax's effort to kick it, and then sliding doors. So the movie Sliding Doors. Yeah. What if he misses?
Yeah.
What if he misses? And then my own little sliding doors moment. What if there were no ball points in the game after that slap in the face? And 4-2, what the penalty, the game would have been decided on that? Give me a break. Give me a break.
All right, well, there Gus's
just do that. Do that.
You're gonna leave here with a red mark on
I'll
your
have to go and do a HIA or something.
All right.
There's nothing. It's like that.
Category 1.
Can you imagine if it was 4-2 and that was the penalty that decided the game?
Yeah.
We're so lucky it didn't.
All right, well, before last Wednesday, the last time New South Wales won that decider was back in 2005, as you mentioned. In that match, there were 2 Bulldogs players in the New South Wales team. Can you name them? We're going to give you
what
a bit
year?
of...
2005.
2005.
I coached in 2002, 2003, 2004. We won in 2004, and Bulldogs won the comp in 2004. And we had a number of Bulldogs players in that team, I think. I think Mark O'Mealy was in that team. I think Andrew Ryan was in that team. Willie Mason was in that team. Braither Nasta played a game during that period, played a couple of games during that period. So 2005, I didn't coach 2005, Ricky Stewart did. 2005 was a series where Andrew Johns came back.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember O'Mealy playing.
You would be correct.
I don't know if Willie played.
You would be correct.
I think Andrew Ryan played.
Yep.
Did Braith play 5'8"?
Yep.
So
There you go.
Braith and
Andrew Ryan.
Andrew Ryan.
There you go.
Yeah.
Your memory's great.
You think?
That's that's a good memory.
Oh, I was kind of involved around Origin at that time, but but Bulldogs won the comp in '94, and we had a great rise with the coaching director at the Roosters in 2002, 2003, 2004. We went to 3 grand finals in a row, and we played Bulldogs in the 2004 grand final. And I remember a number of the Bulldogs players were in that Origin team I coached that year. We won the series as well. But I couldn't remember if Mark or Willie played the following year. Yeah, I remember Braith playing in a premiership, Origin winning series.
Yep. Braith and Andrew Ryan. There you go. All right, well, let's take a look at the previews for this week. We've got NRLW and NRL as well. So pretty action-packed weekend of footy. NRLW, first of all. Knights and Roosters, they kick it all off on Thursday night up at McDonald Jones Stadium. That's going to be a good game, the Knights and the Roosters. They're probably the two teams to beat.
What I do know about the NRLW is that the teams change a lot, like from year to year. Girls, and they'll play Harvey Norman football or they'll play a lower grade football with some clubs, and they'll run off and play NRLW with other clubs. So trying to keep track of who's where, but they're traditionally two of the stronger sides. They'll be looking to get off their season to a win. Roosters generally have recruited extremely well. So, I think the NRLW competition this year will be even better again. You saw the Origin series this year, captured the imagination of the public. We had massive ratings, standalone Origin on a Thursday night, 3-game series. Queensland won the decider up in Townsville. I mean, I think women's football is now on a stage of its own, and the NRLW will be extremely exciting now for the next 10 or 12 weeks through competition and finals. What have we got now, 10 teams?
Yeah, so this week, I'll read out the teams this week. So we've got Knights, Roosters, Sharks, Cowboys, then Broncos, Eels, Dragons, Titans, and then Tigers, Raiders. So
I look at all those teams and I can't find one that doesn't deserve its place. I think they'll all be extremely competitive. And as the pathways for women's has improved and as they've got more and more football and more training under their belt, the standard of the game is improving so much that they're easily accommodating the depth for 10 teams. There'll be 10 quality sides.
Well, we had Millie Elliott on the Sunday Footy Show on the weekend, and she was talking about the influence that Women's State of Origin would have had on this NRLW season, and she said it's going to be one of the best ones. So looking forward to all that action. All right, what about the NRL? Kicks off this round on Friday. The Warriors taking on the Tigers. That one at Go Media Stadium in Auckland. Who are you tipping for that one?
Yeah, well, you've got to pick the home side. They've still got some mathematical hope of making the 8. The Tigers are looking to get away from the bottom of the ladder, but the last couple of performances have been disappointing, and there's so much happening around their roster over there, and rumours of players leaving, and I feel a bit sorry for them. I hope they can mount a performance, but Warriors at home, you'd have to think would be too strong in that one.
All right, what about Eels Storm? That one's Friday night at CommBank Stadium. Stormer.
The Jason Ryles Cup.
There you go, yeah.
There you go, yeah. Storm were outstanding the other night. Absolutely outstanding. I see they've named Cameron Munster in number 20.
Yep.
He didn't even make the top 17.
No, I'm pretty sure he's playing.
I'm pretty sure he's playing too. He said to us on commentary the other night he'd be playing, didn't he?
Yep. Can't remember whether that was on air or off air.
Who do they think they're tricking? Putting him in number 20.
All right, Broncos up against your Bulldogs.
Yeah, it'd be a tough one. Another road trip. Bulldogs unlucky in Townsville last week. It was a great game. It was one of those games that went right down to the wire, and a few injuries come out of that game for the Bulldogs, so that side could well change between now and Saturday night. And as we said previously, the Broncos with Adam Reynolds back are a completely different conveyance. So another great test. The thing I'm really happy about with the Bulldogs this year, as compared to probably their last 8 or 9 years, we're at this post stage of the season, and they're playing in games that count. They're playing in games in front of big crowds, in games that mean something. As every team's walking the tightrope to a possible top 8 finish, which would be an outstanding result for our club. And we're also playing against teams that have got a lot to play for as well. So it's great for our club and our fans to be going to these games and giving themselves a chance, and to be competing in games like the last 10 years. Their season was over halfway through the year, and they were just making up the numbers at the back end. So Hopefully we've left that part of our history behind us, and that, your season should be getting the better the further it go. And we've got into July and August, and the team's still there and competitive and doing well. We've run into a few injuries in the last few weeks and missing a few players, but that next man up mentality is starting to kick in with the club. We've got some good kids coming in, Leapoy Hopoy and Harry Hayes have debuted in recent times, and some other fellas that have debuted this year like Bailey Hayward are doing a great job. So very pleased with that, but big challenge against the Broncos in Brisbane.
So you said that you're expecting some changes to the Bulldogs side.
See, that's that investigative journalist stuff. You don't miss anything. You
miss
didn't listen to
anything.
anything I said, because as soon as you said changes, that's all. You just waited. Yeah, you weren't listening to me. You just listened to what you're going to say next. Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, ding, ding. All right, we'll stay tuned for some changes.
I think there's a couple in doubt.
Yeah, all right, okay. All right, Cowboys and Sharks. So the Sharks, obviously, they're without Will Kennedy for this one.
Yep.
Lee Myson, he'll
Good
be,
kid.
yeah.
He came through the Penrith system. He came through the Penrith system. Yeah, he was in the lower grades up there.
What did you make of him?
Good kid, yeah, quick. Yeah, he knows his stuff. He's come through the right system. He's been at the Sharks now for a couple of seasons and gets his opportunity in the fullback role. An effort player, pretty quick. Does some good things, obviously, with Dylan Edwards in his path up there. He went somewhere else looking for opportunity. He gets his debut. He gets his opportunity now. Still no Nico Hines for the Sharks, although very impressive against the Tigers last time, but a different kettle of fish playing North Queensland in North Queensland. They did really well. They backed up a number of Origin players to get that narrow victory last week. They'll get another week's rest and be ready to go again this week, and a lot of players in good form there. So I'm going to say North Queensland narrowly. That could be one of those golden point thingos.
Your favourite.
All
right, this one, Roosters Seagulls. Now that stat during the week that came out about the Roosters, not being able to beat some top teams, does that weigh on a team, do you think?
Yeah. First rule of the hoodoo is not to talk about the hoodoo, but I think there are some aspects of their game that come against them against the better sides. They get away with it against the lesser sides. Their brilliant ability to score points. They score tries that other teams just can't score, and they've got a great way of accumulating points, particularly when they're at full strength. They're missing, obviously, Joey Manu out in the centres, who's been a big part of that, but it's still a great roster and a great team. The things I find let them down are probably discipline more than anything, and execution against the better sides. And when things aren't going their way, they kind of try to punch their way out of it rather than be patient and let the game come back to them. They've got a brilliant attacking kicking game, but not so much. They don't particularly like just working it up for a kick from their own end. They're not that sort of patient side. They're constantly at you trying to play football at you. And against the better sides, sometimes that comes against them. And Melbourne put pressure on them the other night. They made a lot of mistakes. They only completed 63% of their potential possession. You can't do that in big games and expect to win. And they got treated on the scoreboard accordingly. Manly are in really good form. Those couple of hit-outs, Manly belting Newcastle and then belting Titans on the weekend, gives them a lot of confidence coming into a game like this. Now, they played each other at Brookvale earlier this year. And I think Roosters were raging hot favourites for that game. And Manly didn't beat them by a lot, but beating them convincingly.
That's
Roosters
right,
never looked like beating them. And it was actually a pretty stellar defensive performance by Manly that night. I can remember the game starting off with Manly making long-range breaks down the left-hand side of the field.
The start was in. We did that game, yeah.
So you've got a memory, Danika. You've just got to test it. This is the game Manly needs. And if Manly wins, it leapfrogs Roosters into fourth position. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that on the ladder. I think they're only a point behind them now, or half a win behind them.
So are you tipping Roosters?
Let me have
Seagulls?
a look. So, yeah, they're only. See, Manly have had 10 wins and a draw. A draw. So there's nothing wrong with a draw. The odd point gets them in.
They're the only draw.
And Roosters are on 26 points with 11 wins. So a win by Manly leapfrogs into fourth position. And from there, you can only lose your way out. So it's a big game. Roosters have got it at home. Roosters need to come to terms with their stickability, with their They need to come to terms with their resilience and their patience in close games against good opposition. Roosters are very good in games where they can blow sides away, and they can blow good sides away on their day, but they need to get into that finals mentality of, this will be decided in the last 10 minutes in a close game, and can we do that? And they kind of haven't been in that mindset for a while for mine. So...
Feels like you're tipping Sea Eagle.
I think Seagulls have got a really good chance, but I keep coming back and looking at this Roosters team. I think Roosters are smart enough this week to finally admit the error of their ways. I think that Melbourne Storm thing would have said, okay, we need to change.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, and I think there'll be a lot of truth seeking in the Roosters ranks. I'm just a little bit worried about the fact that they're still playing a forward in the backs with Satilli. And, Manly are so good out wide. They're so fast. Gee whiz, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. I'm going to tip Rooster. I think they'll get it right.
That wasn't you weren't too sure about that one, but
I'm not.
We'll lock in Rooster.
Well, in most of your tips, you're not sure. You're just guessing.
Yeah, that's what
you really are. There are some games that I'm really confident with. I'm not confident
that
about
one's a hard one to
I think
pick.
I'm confident. I think it'll be a stellar game. And the more I look at it, I'm thinking, oh, geez, I'm going to tip Rooster.
Rooster. Okay. Dragons and Panthers. That one Sunday afternoon at Wynn Stadium, Wollongong.
Yeah, Dragons coming off the bye, and Roosters. Let's have a look here. Dane Laurie at fullback. Casey McLean still in the centres. Brian To'o's back. Jerome Luai's back. Liam Martin's back. Sia Yo's back. So they're all big ins. The rest of the fellas have got a lot of confidence against the Dragons. If they're going to play in the 8, need to win their home games. They did beat Panthers earlier this year, but Panthers played without their rep players in that game. Now the Panthers get a chance to bring back their origin players. No Dylan Edwards, but Dane Laurie's in good form. Scored the match. He scored an important try on the weekend, I think, to get them back in the game. I'll go with Panther.
Mm-hmm. Panthers it is. This one, looking forward to this one. Are you coming up with us to Suncorp Stadium on Sunday?
No, I don't do the Queensland games.
Okay, well,
Danika.
Us C teamers will be up there.
I'm doing the A team. You're the Queensland A team.
Yeah. Dolphins and Titans at Suncorp Stadium.
I'm going to go Dolphin.
Dolphin?
There's something about the Dolphins. They just keep finding a way to keep winning. They've got points in them. Gold Coast Titans I thought were disappointing the other day. They got off to a good start. They led 8-0. But even before Manly scored their first try, I think in commentary I said Gold Coast look fatigued here. They look like a bit befuddled. And when Manly got the first one, you could feel that was going to crack, and they scored straight away again and led at half time and then ran away with it in the second half. And that's not a good sign. It'll come down to possession, but the Dolphins have shown me this year that if you want to get into a scoring contest, they do it as good as anyone. So I'm going to go with the home side there, who just keep finding a way to keep their position on the ladder.
They somehow just keep on finding a way to win, no matter who.
The old coach,
they're out.
Danika. The old coach. See,
Wayne Bennett
still got some tricks up his sleeve.
Wise. Sunday evening, this one's going to be a chilly one at GIO Stadium in Canberra. The Raiders up against the Rabbitohs, and the Rabbitohs, they're in that fight to keep their season and their finals hopes alive.
Yeah, mathematically, they're holding on to a dream. It's certainly a tightrope for them. It's tightrope for Canberra too, who are up and down, but same thing. As soon as Jamal Fogarty got back last week, it looked different as well. It looked far more controlled, and I think Canberra will be too good for South Sydney down there in the nation's capital. So who did we pick here? We picked Warrior to beat Tiger. We picked Storm to beat Eel. We picked, we didn't have a pick in that game. We got Cowboy to beat Shark. Rooster to beat Manly.
Rooster.
Do I want to change that?
No, you can't. You've locked it in.
Have I?
Yep.
Lock it in, Eddie.
Lock it in. Panther to beat Dragon.
Panther to beat Dragon.
Dolphin to beat Titan.
Dolphin to beat Titan. Raider to beat Rabbit.
There you go.
Thank you, Danika.
Hey, Gus, thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. I've got through it. I was very worried about today.
What were you worried about?
Because you ask tough questions.
Well, I'm going to be back here next week if you'll have me back.
100%. How long's Matt away for?
3 weeks.
He might never get his gig back.
Don't
How much time you got on Wednesdays?
Matt, don't worry, you're safe. He'll be tuning in from Paris. All right, great to be here. Thanks for having me, and we'll see you again next week on Six Tackles with Gus.